Hello and welcome back to Railroads Online. In this video, we're going to be doing a quick showcase of what I was supposed to be recording um, over the weekend, and I didn't. I got a little bit distracted by work in real life, and I needed some time to solve some problems with the yard on the smelter. So we're just going to be doing a quick showcase of that. Uh, I also wanted to say that we are going to be. I'm going to be taking a break over Christmas. I don't work Christmas and New Year's, typically. New Year's, being that I don't have a proper quote unquote job, one of those 9 to 5 deals, I don't really see it being such a big deal. But Christmas and holidays like that, um, I don't work for those. So I will be taking a break on that, which means that the Bioshock video for this week will be late. I will be working on it Friday. I know Christmas is Thursday this year, but I tend to record on Thursdays for a Friday episode. So that will be it will be late. I'm gonna go ahead and record it Friday, or yeah, Friday, and it'll be out Saturday. So that's the only big issue there. Um, as far as that goes, nothing else is going to be late. I've already got a ATS video recorded. I record those two or three at a time because they're fairly short. So I've already got another video recorded and it's ready to go. I just got to get it edited. But yeah, anyway, as we move on, I got to figure out where we are here. As we move on, where the heck are we in relation? Oh, okay. I was trying to find where we were on the map. Uh, as we move on, yeah, I needed to take a little bit of time to actually go in and solve some of the issues that I was having with uh, with the terrain and with the actual size of the plateau. I severely underestimated um, how how large a sorting yard or hump yard would be. But I made it work in the end, and in order to do that, I really I found out very early on that I really couldn't have recorded it. It was 8.5 hours of immensely repetitive uh, trial and error, and that was over the course of 2 days. So we're going to go ahead and start from right here where we actually left off the other day was back here, but it's just two straight runs of track. We've got a switch over right here that is really where the complex begins. So basically, what it amounts to is either one of these is in or out, uh, in loop out loop, and typically we would have the train coming through on this line here and coming around this loop, and we'll get to what's passing on the left here in a minute. But um, we would progress down this loop, go all the way down here, and it's a single line the whole way. Um, Regardless of how many trains we've got coming through, they're going to have to come through this single line. So it's a pretty massive choke point, but it was about the tightest I could get at certain areas. And we're going to pass by this switch here, which connects both the gravity line and connects into a Y that goes into the yard. And we'll explore that a little bit here in a little bit. But we're going to come around the left leg of the Y here. and come into the yard. Now, from where we stand right now, and I'm in fly mode so I can move a little bit faster, but where we stand on your left-hand side, so over on this line, the far outer line where the crosshairs are, goes into the arrival yard. This center line and all of the center lines in between the far left and the far right are sorting yard. They're part of the sorting yard. They're the downhill side of the hump. So we're going to go over here and bypass the sorting yard to go in like we were actually running a train, and we're going to come over here to our arrivals line. Now we've got 4 lines here that we can drop a train at any point, so long as it fits into any one of these 4 lines. And then we come out and we leave. So that's that. Now, if, and we're going to go back here, if the locomotive, by the time it reaches this point, needs fuel, they're actually going to detach from the train. And this is like I said, it's a choke point, so it's just one of those deals where we don't really have a choice. But they're going to detach from the train at either this point or down here at this switch, right here where the crosshairs are, and reverse, or they're gonna proceed down to this point on the Y. And I'm gonna take these trees out while we're talking here, and they're gonna go into the yard. Well, it's a little bit of a run up to the yard, and the reason I put this Y in, as you'll see in a minute, is that we've got a full service station for the trains that we've got, or for the locomotives. And yeah, that one there, that one there. I'm just going through. I forgot to do all this. I'm on the front side of a mild sinus infection right now. I had to go down into my mother's crawl space last night and help replace her hot water line. If houses could have heart attacks, her house would have died. I mean, that's how blocked up her hot water line was. It was coming out at maybe a drip or two every few seconds. There was virtually no water coming out of her hot water line. But anyway, I digress. They're gonna leave their train down over there, and they're gonna come in on either of these lines, and they're gonna come around where we were just removing those trees. They're gonna come around here and right into the yard. Now this first switch, one goes into the yard proper, okay, for the fueling depot, and for the fueling depot here on the right, and the roundhouse and turntable on the left. This center line is purely for fueling the coal tipple. So we've got that siding there solely for fueling the coal. We've got this line here for fueling the locomotives, and then we come over on to the center of this first Y up here, and we've got a small yard for sorting the bulkhead cars for the cordwood that we'll use to both fill the firewood facility and fuel the smelter up ahead. On the far inner line, we've got another yard, and this one is a little bit convoluted, but I really didn't have much of a choice to do that. We've got a couple of more sidings here via this 3-way switch and this 3-way switch to store bulkhead cars and ore cars that are brought in to the smelter. and we've got a full runaround for a fairly long train. I'm thinking possibly 8 to 10 cars with a reversing point here for the locomotive to come back around and pull it and pull the train back out and sort it into its sidings. Now, all of that connects it back into that Y, of course, but the locomotive that brings the train in, the locomotive that actually brings the train in is going to be permanently into this area is going to be permanently up here. Okay, any locomotive that comes in and drops a train on the inbound side of this yard is going to be running light engine back through here, and they're going to be picking up an outbound train on this line here to head back down the mountain and carry on with their day. So this in a nutshell is pretty much all there is to it. We've got the hump here, which I actually had to greatly condense and actually do need to test it at some point. Um, I had to greatly condense it, so I think it's like a 3.5 or a 4.5% grade up to the point where it starts to go back down, and then that is at a full 10% grade down. Oh, approximately about there. Well, actually, I could see the gap in the rails right or in the ties right there where the crosshairs are, and then it levels off. Now, I said I had to make do with, or I had to solve the problem of physical space, and you look over here to the left, and there's no flat ground over there, so I wouldn't have been able to put any of this in. Uh, that said, down there where the at the end of this yard, at the end of this sorting yard, which is tragically too short for what it's needed for. Um, I I had very limited space before I started running into issues with the ground once again not being flat enough to lay track in any way, shape, or form. It and get switches in there like what I've got over here. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what all this is, and we need to test this, and we'll do that when we start with our first few trains. And I will be continuing to build on both this yard and the rail line in general as we go on. But I wanted to go ahead and show you guys what I've been working on this weekend, and just kind of give you guys an overview as to how it works and all that good stuff. And as we're running, we'll see how it works. And once we open up multiplayer, it'll look quite a bit more like it should in terms of functionality. So what with that taken care of and out of the way, what I figured we could do is see about possibly coming down here to where we started this whole build down here by the ore mine, and see what we can do problem solving wise about getting a line worked down and around the mountainside here to meet down at the coal facility, the coal mine right up here, and see what we can do about that. It's just kind of a cursory overview of what it would take to do that, and then come over here to the telegraph office and work our way up to the iron works, which is where our first stop is going to be. And that will give us an opportunity to build a small yard and actually have some running that we can do in a future episode that would be a little bit different than what we have been doing. It wouldn't take very long to fill up the goods in for the lumber there, and it looks like that takes coal, so we could probably also connect up there. So that's these three industries. Getting these three industries up here connected is probably going to be our main goal today. But let's go ahead and take a very cursory look at what it would take to get a line built over here. Because what I'd originally wanted to do clearly will not work with the grades that we're looking at just right here by the by the uh, by the coal or ore mine. Wow, yeah, I can talk today. What the heck is that? Bright blue thing. It's water. How about that? One little spit of water. Okay, anyway, so it looks like we could come off of this hill and just kind of keep it at a gentle grade and kind of hug the yeah, kind of hug the wall down, and if we're lucky we'll be fairly close here to the to ground level, and we'll be able to swap it out to a double line. Or if we're not, we'll just keep it consistent. We'll come over here and as we're working our way down, we'll probably come out and around over here toward the edge of the map. Just kind of make it a little loop type deal here. And come back around, and hopefully by then we'll be, if we're not still up where those crosshairs are, we'll be down around here somewhere, and we'll be able to run fairly well surface level, which will be, that'll be all right. We could do that. Then we could come back over into here and work our way back around. So that's kind of the general idea. I don't think it's going to happen exactly that way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For today's episode, I definitely want to take a look at and see what we can put in, or what we can put in down over here for goods in and out. It looks like it's going to be a one line for both loading and unloading, but that's all right. We could probably put in a small yard over here. But that said, we would be using, if I'm not mistaken, let's go into the buy menu here. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to be using the same cars for the ore as we're using for the coal. Yeah. So we'd probably want to, and they're the same size, we'd probably want to differentiate what we use for ore versus what we use for coal. So yeah, we could have a yard here to house some extra coal units that go up and down the line, and yeah, that'll work. We could have cars over here, a small short line here for a couple of service locomotives to actually, or a couple of switching locomotives to actually go back and forth between the coal mine and the ironworks here, which takes coal. I do believe that's coal. Yep, that's coal. And all their stuff is in line too. So they take coal, and there's the raw iron and the lumber. That's all their goods in, and their goods out are over there. So that'll be all right. Okay, so how do we want to do this? We're going to have to build these 2 yards first. just so we've got a pretty decent idea of, you know, what we can throw in here and get connected up. So I'm going to go back into the buy menu real quick here, and I'm going to take a look at what kind of locomotive we would want to power these short trains. So I could see something about this size, maybe something even about this size, running on this line. We may even be able to do something like this here, or well, that'd be even better. That one would probably work. We don't need a locomotive with a tender. We only need a small tank engine to be able to do this. So, I mean, it's a short enough run. We could put in our we could put in a service station over here in this area and not have an issue. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what we can do over here. We're not really going to have too much in the way of basically rail yard allocation here. We're going to probably have, oh, I would say we'd have our load unload line over here, and then we'll put a small yard over here, just, you know, split it off and separate it out a little bit. That way we can make that happen, and we'll probably put the majority of the stuff over there. So let's go ahead and start with this one. So we're going to go in with our 1 meter ballast and connect everything in. Go into precision mode here. Find our connections there. Okay. It's got to be there somewhere. There it is. All right. So there's our load unload line. Now we're actually going to extend this out because the trains that are going to be coming in and out of here are going to be fairly long. We're looking at 10 to 15 cars in total length, depending on what we get up at the smelter and what we need to take up there and bring back down. So we're going to go ahead and extend this out, a good ways. So this yard is actually going to be fairly large. These two industries are extremely close together, so we'd actually have to have a crossing or a bypass at some point for the main line locomotives to just drop their loads and go. You know, drop their loads, pick up another, and take off. So I think that's what we'll do, just to kind of helps them save a little bit of time and whatnot. So that looks pretty good. That end's probably a little bit long, so we'll remedy that situation here real quick. And build mode. And we'll try this again. And probably right about there. That looks alright. That looks a little better. Okay. So that's going to be the start of our yard. And since these two are so close together, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to have the yard butt right up against this loading area here, or this load unload station, and I'm going to have a bypass line on the outside. So if we've got a train Uh, I'm trying to think here as to how to help visualize this versus just doing it. Basically, what I want is a drop yard, and then any locomotives that have got trains that are going directly up, like cordwood, okay, they could just bypass entirely. If we got a rake of 10 or 15, 20 uh, cars of cordwood, they could just bypass this entirely. So that's what I want to do. We're going to see if we can't make that happen. Let's go into build mode. On a left switch with a left hand throw. And we're actually going to use this. Yeah, we're going to use that for now. And then we're going to go in. We're another left hand switch, but this time we're going to swap over to a right hand throw. And this is where a lot of the trial and error came in over the weekend that I really didn't feel like I needed to film. So we'll have, that's 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines and a bypass. That looks right. So we've actually got to come over here. I think if we can, we're going to extend this side out a little bit longer and do it again. No, that'll be all right. So this time we need right hand. Well, no. How do we want to do this? I'm trying to look at this, how it's going to work here. Bear with me, guys. This is what I was doing up on the smelter for 2.5 days. So I think I want to do right hand with a right hand with a right hand. I want to come over here and do this. See how it works here. Because if it doesn't work right here, I could just take the switches out and extend it and it won't be any issue. But I want to make absolutely sure that it does, so we're going to go over here with a right hand and a left with a left hand throw. And we'll put these in. And it should work the exact same. 2 and 3. It does, we're just too short. Yeah, it works, but we're just too short. So we need to come out quite a ways on both sides. So we will do that. Let's start with this side. If I can get down to it, there we go. And we'll carry on here. We'll come out. Oh, right about to there. So it's going to be quite the run up. And we want to angle it in, so we need a left hand with a left hand. Put that one in. We kind of want to start our curve out a little bit, but we need to go back in with a right hand throw. Same switch, just different throw. So 2, 3 lines. Bypass. I think that's right. And we're getting ready to lose later. 1, 2, 3, and a bypass. Yes. Okay, so I will cut here and I will be back once the sun goes back up. Okay, we are back. We're going to go ahead. I was looking at it. It should be long enough now, but we're going to go ahead and extend this side out just a little bit more to give us just a little bit more distance for the run or for the bypass. So we want our 1 meter ballast. We're going to come in, link it in, and come in right about here. That looks all right. And we haven't quite got to the point of it burying itself. I don't know how far out that's going to be. So let's see. Yeah, it's not going to bury itself. All right. So we should be good for a little ways in either direction. Down, dang it. So we should be good on that. Let's go in with a right. No, let's go in with a left hand with a right hand throw. And we're going to put this in. And we want to swap around to a right hand switch with a left hand throw. Now the reason we do that is just to get these as compact as possible. It's not entirely necessary. We could fiddle around with spreading them out, spreading the switches out a little ways, so that we could use all the same distance throws and have a line that hugs these hugs the outside of this line. But I really don't think it's necessary. Okay, so with that done, we're going to actually just let this curve around to over here. So it's gonna make a nice gentle curve. That's gonna be our passing line. Everything else is gonna be straight, just dead straight, and that's kind of the whole point. Not only is it going to be straight, it's going to be fairly close together, and it doesn't really waste a whole lot of space. Now, the elevation apparently does change a tiny bit through this yard, but I'm not too terribly worried about that. That doesn't look like it's too much of a grade. I did finally find a use for this. And as you can see, the percent of the grade is only 0.1%. So, yeah, that is what it is. So it's not too much of a grade that we're going to have to worry about it. So we've got our switching yard. Small as it is, I think that'll be more than enough to give us upstream and downstream traffic, and we've got ourselves a little bit of a passing loop here, passing line here. So that's going to be it for right here. That's all we need for this portion of the yard, or portion of this short line. Over here, however, we've got a little bit more of a problem. See, we don't have a whole lot of room to come over and, you know, kind of work our way back into that. We can try it. Wouldn't break my heart to try it. But it would probably be easier to come around the back side and go down the hill than it would be to kind of bend everything in. So let's go ahead and try first what I originally said was just bring it in from the front side here. See if we can't get everything connected up first. We'll do that. Do that first, and it'll save us a lot of problems. Why is it doing that again? I don't understand that. Didn't do that before. It's not doing it now. Okay. Either way. There's our unload line. That's going to be our main source of entertainment over on this line. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to connect everything up over here. It's over here somewhere. There it is. Now, like with the cattle, the meat processing plant, we do have the option over here of building two separate yards. And if we come in from the back side, that will give us the ability to do so. Um, if we come in from the front side here, it's going to be probably a little bit more difficult to do that because it'll just be a complete block of switches the whole way across, and that's really not necessary. So let's just go ahead and let's see. We've got three separate industries that feed this metalworking facility. So we've got coal, we've got iron, raw iron, and we've got lumber. So we need to have some way of, or we need to have some sort of staging area for that. And we've got miles of area here that we can do that. So we don't need to keep everything as compact as what we have over here at the coal center or at the coal mine. We don't have to keep everything as compact as we did up at the iron mine. Thank God. So we've got this entire area that we could use for a respectable yard. We're not going to need another hump yard, even though I do now have the practice for it. We're not going to need it. It's not going to be entirely necessary. We've only got 3 goods in here, and the goods for the coal mine up here largely come down the from the smelter. So all the goods coming down from the mountain are going to come over here to these two. Um, by and large, they're going to be coming down the mountain, so we really don't need to worry too much about them. The coal is just right there. What concerns me is coming up from the woodcutter from the sawmill, which is over in that area somewhere. I think it's right there where the crosshairs are. So we need some way of switching off from the sawmill. Once we get over here, it'll probably come up through this little gully right here in between these two hills. It'll probably come up from this gully and come in. So I would think that having a service station right in this area where the crosshairs are is right in here. Not a full service station, but just kind of a stopping point. Would be pretty ideal for getting everything connected in. A yard over here to yard over here with limited capacity for both of them. I'd say probably not too very much larger than the coal mine. So the issue that I'm having, however, with that idea is that we don't have as much room for quite the run up as we did with the coal mine. Now we've got room for a yard, yes, but we don't have the oodles and gobs of area to build a through yard where they could just drop their trains and go. Say if this one had a rake of lumber, it could just drop the rake of lumber, pick up a load of coal, and go up. And on its way back down, it'd pick up the empties and pick up another load of coal and go over here. So on and so forth. We don't have the room for this kind of thing over here, so we're going to have to do a proper switching yard. On this side, however, that's not quite the case. We do have a little bit more room. We still can't do the full pass-through, but we can bring it out quite a ways so that we can have a loading area that comes back here. And what I'm thinking now is possibly having this loading area and the yard next to it as the border for a small area for a service center. So coal, wood, water, sand, things like that. Wouldn't need a turntable per se, but we could probably put one in. We wouldn't need more than a 2-stall engine locomotive shed. So we could do like what we did up at the smelter, or up at the ore mine, and just put them separately. That wouldn't be too big of a deal. So let's go ahead and try that, see how that'll work. So first of all, I want to put in a little bit more of a run up over here. I want to make this even with the building. So we'll do that. And that'll give us a little bit more length here. And we're going to come over here and we're going to run all the way out to, oh, right about there. So that'll give us plenty of room to work. So let's go ahead and do that. Whoops, come on. And we'll put in our bumper stop, add ballast in so it's not just floating there. Now sometimes I'll do this, sometimes I won't. It just depends on how close to the ground it actually is. This one's floating pretty high up. So it's a little bit more necessary. Now, with the way we did those switches over there, I'm going to attempt to do the same thing over here. So we're just going to have line, line after line after line. We'll probably have three or four sidings here. So let's see what we can do. So we want a left switch with a left-hand throw. Put that in right there. And we're going to come in with a right-hand switch with a left-hand throw. And we swap the switch so we can keep it compact. So we do that, and now coming directly off of that switch, it's going to be a straight shot back, and it will be about the right distance. And I wish that I had learned this trick a whole lot of time ago. So now we've got 3 lines, 4 lines, and let's go ahead and call it 6 and call it good. That'll give us plenty of storage on this side of the yard. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and run these sidings out, and you'll see they run almost perfectly the whole way out. Almost perfectly. I don't think it even gets too narrow, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that runs just about perfectly out. So let's see how close we were to getting that right. And I'm getting pretty good at that. So, I'm not tooting my own horn there. That's actually pretty difficult to get it within 1 step of each other. And that's pretty close. At the speed that I was going. So, this is going to go by fairly quick here, because I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to waste my time on this. So let's put it right about there. Let's go in with our bumper stop. And, yep, that one's a little bit shorter. But that's no big deal. I'm not going to change that. It's not an issue. We're just going to even it up back there. So, even that's off. But that's okay. We're not going to worry about it. So we've got our yard here getting ready to be done. And we've got 2 more tracks that we're going to put down. And I'm actually going to make that one just a touch longer. Right about there. Put the bumper stop in. And put in our embankment. This is not the reason I didn't film the building of the yard up there by the smelter, or not, yeah, the smelter. Um, the issue was that I had spent so much time doing, learning how to do this, going off of a reference image for a model railroad even, to be able to do this. Uh, figuring out how the switches laid, and whoops, don't need that one. Figure out how they were laid, and what height I needed, what length I needed, and all that good stuff. So it was really a try. It was a lot of trial and error that it would have been very monotonous and very boring to watch. Especially since I am not one of those type people that can uh, talk and think at the same time. I'm sure you've noticed by now my speech really gets slowed down when I'm thinking heavily about something. And I have a tendency to stutter anyway, but that just makes it like 10 times worse if I try to talk over my thoughts. So right now I'm just kind of doing this based on, what I've learned from working up there at the smelter. So there's our yard. And that actually looks, for all intents and purposes, like a rail yard. So, how do we want to do this? We want to put our service station in right here. But we've got the goods in over here to run another yard for. So it may not even, we may not put it over here. It may be somewhere else. If it's not, we could probably run it around and bring it in. That might not be too big of an issue. Since we're only running a small tank engine, I think that might be okay. But that's not to say that we wouldn't need to have the larger locomotives come in here and fuel up as well. In fact, what I think we could probably do is have a line run around and have the service station over here where this little stand of trees is right here. So we'll wait on doing that, but I wanted to get that taken care of. And you can see they're really not that far off from each other. I think I've got three that are a little shorter on ballast than the others. I think they're 3 and 3 there. Or it's pretty close, but it's not bad. And that could actually be our entire yard right there, with as long as that is. But it's not going to be. It's going to be a little bit of a switching maneuver situation to get everything changed around, because we've got our goods in, goods out. And we've also got quite a bit of input being transferred over here for empties. So these are outbound trains on this line. So actually what we could do, and I'm going to see if we can, is we could have our inbound for the metal work, or the foundry. We're gonna try and get a pass through like what we've got up there, and I'm gonna do it a little bit different than up there. We'll see if it works, but if it doesn't, we can always try something else. So here's what we're gonna do. we're going to take and we're going to bring this out quite a ways, just like we did with these others. We'll try and make it about the same length here. That'll be all right. It's close. Now we're just going to butt that off. We're going to put a bumper stop there and call that one done. So that's going to be, in and of itself, that's going to be all there is. Now, thinking on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that back out. I'm going to put a switch in. We're going to do a runaround. So I'm actually going to do this. Oops, didn't connect. So we'll go in with a left-hand switch. And I think I'm going to do a right-hand throw instead of a left, just in case we decide to come over with something. And I'm going to go back in with my 1 meter ballast track here. And let's see. I wonder if this will work. I don't know if it will, but we'll certainly try it. Let's go with a 100 meter curve and just bring it around to about here. So that's kind of curving us toward where we want to go. To begin with, it's giving us a little bit of extra maneuverability. That's the word, for lack of remembering what I was talking about. Okay, so we've got a right-hand switch with a right-hand throw, or a left-hand throw, excuse me. So we'll put that in right there, and then we're going to immediately change. Actually, no, we don't want to do that. We want a three-way. I could make jokes about that all day long. We want a three-way with a left-hand throw, and we're going to attach it right here on this leftmost point, and that's going to be the lead-in for the runaround and for the yard. So before we do the yard, we're going to do the runaround, and we're going to take it back around. We're going to try and get it to match up. I did mess a little bit with that copy paste tool, but I don't think it's going to work with this. Not as easily. Let's go ahead and just try that now. So copy that, and we'll try and, I mean, it will work, but for what we're doing, it's not really going to connect as well. So we'll, as we feather it in, we'll do that. I'm not saying that it's not going to work for permanent, but you know, it's for what I'm doing here, it's not really going to make it. So we want to go to right about there, and that's about a good distance. We'll see if we can't straighten it up to get it to run straight for that line. Okay, let's see if it'll run more or less straight, and if not, we'll just connect it up right here. And that looks like crap. Okay. So, yeah. Need to make this a 90. There we go. Bring it to about here. And now, let's see if we can get this to run somewhat straight. Yeah, it's not going to do it. Yeah, it's not going to run straight. All right, so we'll make it right as we come through here. That's not a big deal at all. So we'll go right about there. And we'll feather it back out. Hopefully it'll run somewhat straight. And it doesn't. That figures. Okay. Still not quite there. That's alright. This doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work. Yeah, see, we're getting too close to the edge here. So we're going to do this. Come back here. Put our 90 back in. And we're going to come right to about there. Let's see if that'll work. Let's give it right to a straight line here. And I've come too far. That's okay. So this is where the trial and error comes in. Mercy. So I'll make this work one way or another. So let's do 110 instead, since it doesn't seem to want to play nicely with us. And we'll just make it work here. Almost. Let's go to right about there. Now we could probably straighten it out. And we'll have to bring it back out a little bit. That's alright. See, it's almost unnoticeable, but, you know, it's pretty close, and it'll line up pretty damn close to where we're at, where we want to be. So it'll be fine. So there's our runaround. Now we're going to do the yard. And this is going to be a pass-through, so our next line is going to run all the way through. Our next line is going to just run all the way through to up here. And we're actually going to have 2 lines coming through here. And we're going to have one connect into this switch, and we're going to have another switch back here for a passover, or a crossover point, I should say. So let's go ahead and put that in. And this is going to seem about backwards, but it's really not, because I want to have that next line coming over there running parallel with that one. So we'll go ahead and put that in. I'm going to swap over to the right hand switch with a left hand throw, and we'll do the exact opposite. And so long as this does not bury itself, which it doesn't look like it did, we should be okay. So as the sun goes down here, I'm going to go ahead and put this line in right here. It's not going to line up because I'm still at 1,000, but there we go. That's going to be our main line, and it's going to go right into that yard. We haven't connected into that yard yet. Keep that in mind. So this track right here is probably only temporary, but that's why we've got the passover, or the crossover, and we'll probably put another one in shortly. But I will go ahead and cut here, and I will be back when the sun comes back up. Alright, we are back, and it looks like I need to work in another switch. So we're going to take out what we just put, that line that we just put in, and we're going to try and put in another switch here. And this is going to be a bit of a tighter radius than what I would like, but I think it'll be okay. So we're going to put that, oh yeah, that's going to be really tight. We'll see what shakes out of that. But we keep in mind we're not going to be, oh, that'll be alright. we're not going to be running our larger locomotives down through here. Um, this is basically just for the yard to be able to bring the inboard or inbound and outbound through here. But yeah, we could probably move that a little bit further down and have it a little bit narrower, looser of a radius. So why don't we do that? We're going to go ahead and do that, and that'll be fine. And see, I would put in a typical crossover, but I'll just go ahead and show you how to show you the build here, because I've never really been able to get these to work, and we're just gonna BS one in here. So we've got that, and we'll come down here to our 45. See if I can get this to work here. And already I can see a problem, but we'll make it happen. Now we're not going to keep this, but you know, that's what it is. It's not going to work right for any reason. And it's kind of sad that they're not working on this game anymore, or at least they haven't for a couple of years now, because a crossover point would be absolutely fantastic to have. So we're going to go ahead and put our straight line in here. Go ahead and bring it out a fair ways. We're going to do our crossover again, and we're going to do it the way we had it before, like this and like that. Now typically a proper crossover, you'd have a cross point right in there and it would just come right straight over, but they haven't implemented that for, you know, whatever reason, and you know, it is what it is. I don't really see too much of an issue. So we're going to do this to get to the other side, and this, and then we need to bring in one more left-hand switch, this time with a left-hand throw, so that we can connect up our yard. And that looks a lot better. That looks more reasonable for a train to come in and take the empties or the new loads out. See, this is our outbound side for the downhill run. We've got to account for the fact that we've got goods coming out that have to go back up the hill, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. No, actually we don't. Come on, thank you. Yeah, actually we don't have any goods that go back up the hill, so that come out of the ironworks. So that's fantastic. All we've got is goods coming down to the ironworks. So that's our outbound side. So we really don't even need another crossover point up here, but we are going to put one in, specifically for the fact that we need to get, well, actually with locomotives usually running on the right hand side, that'll be perfect. We don't need another crossover. Fantastic. Okay. Because the right hand side on this is going to be it's going to actually be a oh, I can think. It's going to be dang it, bypass. That's the word. Good Lord. And you wonder why I didn't want to film why I didn't want to film the build up at the smelter. Okay, so we've got our connecting, or our bypass line ready to go in, and that is going to be a little bit of an issue since I put it right there, but that's okay. We want it to run as close as possible to these switches, but we're going to leave ourselves enough room that we can get around this hill. In fact, I'm going to take this out, and we're going to run around that hill from the get-go, because if I'm not mistaken, that's a short climb that we can manage, or it can run a little bit longer and run right straight down. So we'll do that. We'll work out the kinks for that first, and then we'll come back and build the through yard. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is going to be a single line. I don't really see a need to yeah, I don't really see a need to bring the double line back in, considering the fact that we've got this pass over here. All it would take, if they were ever to continue working on this, would be to implement switches. Not switches. My mistake. Semaphores, signals. So let's go ahead and see what we can do about bringing this line around. We're going to have to cut a couple of trees out, it looks like. We're going to bring this line back around. Let's do that. And we're still running, we are still running level, so that's good. So we're going to come around here. And this is a 100-meter radius, which seems to be working very well. So we're going to keep coming around. Looks like that's as far as it wants to let us go. I want to get a little elevation here, see where we're at. Yeah, that'll work. And we can actually bring it back in here. And we keep this curve here going for a little bit longer, because we actually need to bring it in right at the edge of that. We need to bring it in right over here for this line. So we're going to have a left-hand switch with a left-hand throw right there. That's where we want to bring it back in. After that, we're going to run the through yard over to this other switch. So let's go ahead and run the rest of the line here. And you can see it's going to match up pretty dang close. That's not too bad for guesswork, which is usually how these builds go. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of these trees now that this is good. Now I'm going to start back here just in case we missed one or two. And it doesn't look like we did, so let's move on up here. I know we've got trees up here. Oops, sorry. Adjusting my seat and got my hand on the mouse the whole time. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the trees here. Hopefully there's no little ones hiding under the ballast, but, you know, I'm sure we'll catch them one way or another. Is that a bush or a tree? It's a bush, okay. So there's nothing we can do about the bushes in this game. I'm going to go ahead and, come on, get out of there. Thank you. I'm going to clear a little bit of a path here. I've got a little bit of a limit on how close I want these to be. That one just disappeared, didn't it? So this one is right on the extreme limit, but Personally, I think it's just a little too close. This is about as far away as I want them. Actually, that's right about a good distance. So we'll go ahead and aim for that. Now, if anybody wants to know how I plan on spending the next week, um, the start of last week, Monday. So when this video is going out, this week will be Monday. Typically, it'll be a Monday that this video goes out for railroads. Dang it! I had some folks come out to the farm that I live on to take down a couple of trees. And they come out, they took down the trees that we'd asked them to take out. And that is now sitting all across our front yard. So we've got 20 to 25,000 pounds of lumber sitting in our front yard that we've got to cut up and remove. But Tuesday or Wednesday, that is, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. It was how tired I was. I can't remember what day it actually was. We had a pretty severe windstorm. I don't know, what other parts of the country watch this series, but this was a pretty nationwide for the United States. It was a pretty nationwide storm. In my personal location, we had winds in excess, or gusts in excess of 70 mile an hour. In other parts of the country, they had gusts in excess of 130 miles an hour. So there was some significant wind events over the course of the weekend, or over the course of the week. And we have had now a cedar tree that had been growing for 50, 60 years on this property. It was one of only two that we had when we moved here. And this cedar tree had always been protected by the large elm tree that we had right outside my front door. Well, this large elm tree was about 250 years old. Is the best I could figure it. Just, judging from the diameter of the trunk at the base, it was about 250 years old. Well, for whatever reason, and I think I know the reason, but for whatever reason, it died. Well, it died 2 or 3 years ago, and we finally were able to get it taken down Monday. The issue is that that's not the right switch. The issue is when we took it down, we were not anticipating having a major wind event happen. So we had that tree and one other that was on its way to falling anyway. We had them taken down, and the next day, or the day, no, it was Wednesday. I remember because we were cleaning up Tuesday and we were out there burning and we couldn't burn Wednesday, so we decided to do some cutting Wednesday instead of trying to burn the sticks and twigs and stuff, the small limbs that we couldn't really find a use for, but were still too big or spindly to go through the wood chipper. So anyway, um, we were out there cutting all that down, and we were burning, or we were cutting that up Tuesday, and we were burning Tuesday. And Wednesday we were getting ready to go out and start cutting, and we noticed that the cedar tree that had been protected by this giant elm tree um, was really being buffeted by the wind, and it hadn't really occurred to either mom or myself at the time we cut this elm tree or had this elm tree cut down. But um, it ended up we didn't really stop to think that it had been protected by this elm tree this whole time. We didn't think that the cedar had been protected by it this whole time. So I'm going to check and see where we're at in relation to that switch right now. Yeah, I'm going to have to. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to change tactic here. I thought I was a little bit further along, or closer along than I was. Um, yeah, we didn't stop to think that this elm tree was being protected, or not this elm tree, the cedar was being protected by the elm tree. So when this wind came up, we went out there, and we'd known for a long time that it was rooted in really soft sandy soil. I mean, we live in a riverbed, okay, an ancient in a riverbed that's every bit 8,000 years old. Okay, that's the ages we're talking here in terms of geology. So the river has not run in this particular part of the riverbed for a very long time, but we're still technically in the floodplain where the river will flow if it's given the opportunity. Uh, Now, with that, we noticed that the tree was really being buffeted by the wind that day. So instead of doing the cutting that we had anticipated doing for the day to try and clean up the two felled trees that we had laying in my front yard in many pieces, we decided it would probably be a better idea to try and figure out how to bring down this cedar tree. And in a big way, it came down. Now, ultimately, I was out there. I brought it down. Um, I had to take a chainsaw to it. We didn't want to bring the tree down, but as we were looking at it, as we were watching it getting buffeted by these strong winds, we watched the entire tree slump over about 6 or 8 inches. And we decided right then and there, no, it has to come out. It's gonna fall regardless of what we do. It's gonna get taken out by the wind regardless of what we do. So I get to spend, oh, if it's warm out, I get to spend the next 3 or 4 days cutting up that cedar tree and the elm tree and the black walnut that we had that was getting ready to fall in the house, that we had cut up at the same time, or cut down at the same time as the elm tree. So that's going to be my Christmas week in a nutshell. Kind of ironic considering what I'm doing right now. But you know, it is what it is, and that's one of the reasons. In fact, the big reason why I quit my job at a machine shop not far away from where I live. And you know, it's just me and my mother. You know, I say I do things, you know, I've got no help. Well, my mother is automatically accounted into I, as in me and my mother. It's really a we situation, but I say I all the time just out of habit. Um, but she and I are the only ones that take care of this property. which is why ultimately I decided to quit my job. So, you know, I didn't decide to quit my job because I didn't want to work. I didn't decide to quit my job because I was tired of um, tired of the BS that my boss was putting me through. It was legitimately for the reason of, hey, I need to be able to do this work. And I can't have a full-time job and do this work at the same time. But at points like this, where at points at this time of the year where it's getting to the point of being cold enough that I'm actually going to leave this straight, but I want to see where I end up, because the far line is going to be the through line. At this point in the year where it's starting to get cold enough that you really can't do anything outside, this is, you know, that's where this gaming comes in, and it really makes a big difference as to what I do and when. So let's go in with a 90 here. But yeah, let's actually do 60. Let's see if we can't get that to work right. We'll make it happen. Yeah, that's probably gonna end up being my Christmas week, and that is ultimately why I am not going to be recording BioShock until Friday, because at that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 3, 4, so we're good there. At that point, I'm going, you know, at that point we should be pretty close to being done with the majority of the work that we need to have done before the cold really starts to set in. So these are going to be a little bit shorter. These are going to be a little bit shorter. Wow, that's like really sharp. These are going to be a little bit shorter sightings here, but that's not going to be too big of an issue. We'll make it work. Let's see if I can't bring it around in at a decent radius. Okay, so that's where I want to end up. That's where I want to end up. We're going to go ahead and straighten this back out, and we're going to make that other side. Come on, there we go. Okay. We're going to bring this right up to this. See, we're not that far off. That's where we're going to bring that up to, and we're going to make this happen. So this is ultimately what I was doing with the smelter. It was massively uninteresting, and I just had to go back and forth like this a couple 300 times. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll go ahead and bring this around. Oops. And I'm not going to worry about bending it. We'll just connect it in. See how that looks. Yeah, that looks all right. Okay. So we'll put our next switch in and do that again. So we want a left hand with a right hand. Right there. That'll give us our next line. So we really can't rely on. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it'll have to work. We really can't rely on these switches being very straight in line. The actual yardage won't permit it, but this will be plenty for what we're doing. So we want one more. Building it at a kind of a not really straight section like this with our limitations is kind of, it seems convoluted, but really it's not. Yeah, that's right. It's just, it doesn't look right. And that's because it's not. What the heck happened? Okay. Let's see. That's right. So, okay, I think I know what I did here. So we'll just leave this straight until we get here. And we're just going to have to do this same way. Like that. Yep, okay. That's what happened there. So, let's get this one. We're in with the same switch. And do it again. Now these are going to get shorter in one direction than they are the other, and that still doesn't look quite right, but we'll make it happen. So we'll go to right there. I say shorter in one direction than they are the other. That's before the turn, not after. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to try and run it straight as possible over through here. So let's see how far we get with that. So about right there. And then we'll bring it around. Just like that. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. That looks a little bit better. So maybe that's what we needed to do with this one over here, is just run it straight. But yeah, that doesn't look too terrible. And it looks like we're getting ready to lose the light again. We need one more switch to make this work. So we'll go ahead and put that in, and I will cut again. And I will be right back when the sun comes back up. Alrighty, we are back. It doesn't look like it's going to get much lighter out, but that is what it is. And I got to looking at this just as I was getting ready to cut, and it looks like we're going to have to go in with a different switch. But that's alright, we can make that happen. That'll give us a little bit straighter of a shot. Well, maybe not. Doesn't quite look right at that point. So let's do that. We will try to get that bent back around before it becomes a major issue. It'll probably be quite a tight little curve here, but 60 isn't too bad. It's a little close. We may actually have to do something here. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looks like we may need to build our main through here real quick. Just see what we've got. I may need to redo that. Oh, let's put it back to 0. There we go. Let's just see where we get. Because it's going to be a little bit easier to work. Okay, so and that's going to be our last switch. So what we need is this one. And we're going to try and build this in reverse here. So, And done. And there we go. So let's go ahead and put this in. It'll probably be a little bit easier of a curve. I don't know. But we'll see. Out of curiosity, I want to see where we end up here. If it goes the right direction, and it does. Well, that's not so bad. Roughly about 60. 55, 60, somewhere in there. That's not bad. So we'll get rid of these. Get rid of everything we did while I was yammering. But yeah, pertaining to the conversation, oops. Pertaining to the conversation that, or not conversation, but the story that I just shared with you guys, I will include the last couple, three, not couple, 3 minutes. It's only a 2-minute video. I'll include the last few seconds of the video that we took, or that my mother took, of me cutting down the cedar tree at the end of this video. So what I'm going to do, go up here. I'm going to take a look at the map up here, because I did the same. I had to do the same thing over here. So we're looking, as we're looking at the map, we're going to pretend like this is what we're doing, and this is our outside line, which is going to be our through line here. So we want to come down. So that one's a curved switch, or a curved line. Okay. So that's a left hand, that's a left hand, that's a left hand, that's a left hand. All right, and that's a right hand, that's a right hand, and that's a right hand. Okay. So I've got these, I think these are right. So I need right hands over here. Which means this has got to go away again. We're going to run a straight from this. Come on. Camera? Thank you. We're going to run a straight from here over to where we want it. So right about here. And we're going to put our first right-hander in. So we want right hand with a left hand throw, and we want it right there. Right? Wrong. First of all, that's too far out. Second of all, I think that needs to be a left hand. Oh, mercy. Gotta love the thought process here. So let's bring that to about here. And we need one more coming out. So we want that here. Right. Okay. Now we want that one there. And that one there. So let's go ahead and connect those two up, see where we get. See, that now it works. I had to figure it out. I lost my thought here for what it's worth, and that's still not going to work. Those are too long. Okay. Not a big deal. We can shorten these up. But now we know what we're wanting to do here. Okay. So I'm going to bring these out a little ways. That's not the one I want. I want the 1 meter without the snow on it. And we're going to bring this out to about here. It's short, but it'll work. So we want our right hand with our left hand. There we go. Put that in right there. Put that one in right there. So that's 2. It's a little bit tight of a curve up there, but that'll work. That'll be all right. We'll change that out in a minute. We'll take that last one out. 3. Okay. So, got 1 line, 2 line. Yes. 1 and 2. We need 1 more switch. We're not going to get 1 more switch. Okay. That's fine. So we're going to come up here. We're going to take this switch right here out. And we're going to bring this track over here. We're just going to put it in right there. And we're going to go and connect these in. Now this will be enough of a small yard. We're kind of limited on our space here, but it'll be all right for what it is. So we're going to take this switch out, and we're going to put this line right here in, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So let's do that. And just like that, we've got ourselves a little yard. Now, what we can do, we're not going to because I don't think I've got the room for it. Actually, we can. Let's do this here real quick because we had a switch in here just a minute ago. What we're going to do is we're going to put this in, and that's going to switch us into our yard, into our locomotive service center. So we'll put this around over here. That's not too terrible. And we can actually we've got our through line here. We can actually get a couple more bits of yardage over in, well, we're not going to go backwards, but over in this area. So we can do that. And we can do that by coming out with 1 more switch, with left-hand switch right here, and then going back in with right-hand switches. Now we're going to have to use right-hands on these, but it will work for now. Let's go in with a left-hand switch with a right-hand throw, and that will get us our straight lines. So we'll do 2 or 3 of these. Yeah, that'll be all right. And that'll get us plenty more storage. And for the fact that we're going to be, we've got so many industries serving the smelter and so many coming out, we need all this extra storage for what we're doing here. And that other line that comes around, it's just, I think that's just going to be our bypass. I don't think there's really enough room to go side by side. Well, maybe there is. Maybe there is. Maybe we can make that happen. We'll take that other line out. It's not that big of a deal. Well, we've already got all the trees cut. We could just leave that. That's not too much of an issue. Yeah, we'll do that. All right. So that'll work. And we want to leave this one blank for now. We're going to go ahead and put three sidings in. I'm going to make them all roughly about the same length here. Or I'm going to try. So we're going to go, well, let's go right about there. And I'll cut all these trees out in a minute. But yeah, there we go. And there we go. Now, this last one here is the tricky one. because we actually have to curve it in, and it's going to be shorter than the rest of them. So we actually have to, we're going to lengthen these out. We're going to make them longer, so this one's actually got a reason to be here. But if we don't have the right angle on it, and I got to get around these dang trees. If we don't have the right angle on it, it's not going to stay lined up with anything. And you can see it's already a little bit weird. So we'll take care of that here in a minute. We'll take care of that one. I'm going to lengthen these out so that they're a little bit more respectable for storage, and give that other one a reason to exist. So, I mean, you really wouldn't want to store a single car in a siding. That's kind of that was stupid. Oops. That's all right. We'll get rid of this. Yeah, you really wouldn't want to store just one bit of rolling stock in a siding that was originally intended to be, 5 or 6 cars long. So let's see what we can make happen here. I know from experience that I need about a 90 degree or a 90 meter curve here. So put that in. And we want to go to roughly about there. It looks like it's curving in a little bit, but we'll see. We'll straighten this back out. If we have to, we'll make this one a little weird, but it'll work for what it is. Yeah, it looks like it's curving out a little bit, or curving in a little bit much. So we'll go tree. We'll go to right about here, and we'll curve it out a little bit. There we go. And you're not even going to see this in the long run, because it's such a short span with such long radius on it that you're not really ever going to see it, especially not when you're up close. You might see it when you're high up. I know I did, but I was looking for it. So we'll go ahead and put that in. We'll kind of eyeball where these all are, and we'll move on to the service station or service center. Whoops. Okay, right there. There we go. Okay. So that doesn't look too bad. Well, they're a little bit longer than they need to be, but it doesn't look too bad. We'll go ahead and cut these trees out, because that'll derail a car faster than anything. Okay. I don't want to take a chance of them hitting them when they're that close. Now these little bushes actually don't have hitboxes, so there's nothing we can do about them. I would like to get rid of it, but you know what? It doesn't matter. A car in a real world, a bush like that really wouldn't stand up to a rail car in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Of course, a little sapling wouldn't either, but these trees are made of titanium. Did you not know? Okay, so we've got our little through yard here, and we've got our side yard here. Let's go ahead and build a small service station here. So we are going to need coal, so that's going to be a big thing. And since we're going to need coal, we're going to need another siding. So what we're going to do, is we're going to actually come in with our coal tower, or coal tipple, if I can get it to work here, and get it to go where I want it to go. Doesn't look like it wants to. So we're going to run around the map until I get it back. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Why does it snap like that? I don't get that. Let's see if I can manage to get it to work clear over here where there's no track. What do you bet it doesn't? What do you bet it don't? There we go. Okay. All right, so we're going to come over here. We're going to rotate it around. And we're going to put it right in line, or we're going to try and get it right in line with that switch. So let's go ahead and put that right there. Well, it'll be close enough. So we're going to have to put in another switch back here. That's not a big deal. So that we can actually get underneath that coal tipple. And like I said, that's not too big of a deal. We'll go ahead and do a right-hand switch with a left-hand throw. I think that'll be all right. No, it won't. Okay. So we'll do this. Left-hand switch with a left-hand throw. There we go. All right. That should get us pretty close. And you can already see that we've got just this little bit of an issue here where our track doesn't line up. We're not going to worry too much about that. That's not going to be too big of a radius to get around. Okay, so you're looking at 200 doubled over, so 100, or cut in half. Anyway, so it's about 100 on both sides. See, that's not too bad. So we're going to come back out. Whoops, we're going to come back out here. We're going to straighten this up as we go. And we're going to stop it because I don't know how many cars it's going to take to fill that up. But we're going to put it right there. And we're going to put in our bumper stop and our embankment to end off that line. Now, we can, I'm not really sure that I want to, but we can put in a wood-fired wood coaling or a wood fueling station. I don't really know that I want to, specifically for the fact that I think the locomotive that we're going to be looking at putting in down here for this short line is, well, we could do this one and this one, and both of those are coal. So we really don't need to worry about that. And the vast majority of the locomotives that are going to be coming through here are going to be coal burning anyway. So we're good on that front, and we've got a wood refueling station up at the smelter, and I believe we also have one at, yeah, we've got a firewood facility up here at the iron ore mine as well. So we've got wood at both points up here. We don't really need a second one, or rather a third one down. Where is it? Yeah. We don't need a third one down here. Come on, camera. All right. Why is it not working? Hell with it. We don't need a third one down here. So we're going to go ahead and leave that alone for now. And I'm going to put in a small point of short track here. I wish I could connect that in, but I really can't. I need to put it in right there. It's not really straight with the rest of this. There we go. Now it will be. I have found that if I hit the arrow keys for the area of rotation, the degree of rotation, it locks it to that, and I can just move my camera wherever I want. So we'll go ahead and do that. Bring that out like that. And now we can bring this down to this switch. So that'll get us into our yard proper. And we'll go ahead and put another line here that will serve for our water tower. Now the water tower and sanding stations will fit in there, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in now. So I'm going to do sand station here real quick, and then I'm going to do the water tower. Now I don't recall if I've mentioned this or not, but an easy way to do this, because these crosshairs right now are not on center, but an easy way to do this is to line up that little platform that you see right there just now crossing the rail. Uh, Line it up with the rail, and when you go to fill the stall or the locomotive with sand, that will be right. The standpipe here will be right in line with the sand dome of the locomotive. It's either the rail or the tie. I can't remember exactly which, but either way, it's going to be pretty close. And I'll move that if it's necessary. And you can do the same, but it's either with the rail there seen at the crosshairs or at the edge of the ties. So as the sun goes down, I'm going to go ahead and put the water tower in, and I'm going to go in with one with a hose on it. That's not what I want. So as the sun goes down, I'm going to faff around a little bit more and hopefully get a water tower put in. We'll just go with the... Yeah, we'll go with this one. Oh boy, that's nice. I can't see. All right. Well, we will wait for this. We will wait to put this in until the sun comes back up. Well, actually, we can do that while the moon's over top of us here. So, a good rule of thumb is to actually plant this with the crosshairs right in the center of the rails. Doing that will line the chute up right with the center. And it will... And these just barely fit. You can't really see it here without the light on, but they just barely fit, and you won't have any clearance issues on either side. So that's good there. And the sun's already coming back up. So we've got our little service center here. We'll put in a turntable when it gets a little bit more light out, and a small, I think a two stall shed here. Let's see what we get. So what I want to do, first off, I want to see how big the turntable well is. And can it work here? It can. Okay. So what I want to do is, you can see all the grass in it didn't cut out a hole in the floor here. But I want to take and raise this up. I want to bring it out, raise it up a little bit more. So we'll do that. We'll bring it out to, oh, probably about here. And we want our turntable. We'll put it in, and you should see, well, it just barely uncovered that rail. So I think we need to come up a little bit more. Now, I may go back in here in a minute and put one more switch in over here. It just depends. I may just put a full roundhouse in here. I don't know yet. But let's see. That should actually, because the ground dips down a little bit there. Let's see. If not, I'll bring it up a little more. Yeah, that's a little bit more reasonable. There's still a lot of grass and everything in there, but it looks a little bit better. You can at least see the rail most of the way, if not all the way around. It'll still function like it should. That's fine. So let's see. Whoops. Let's see if I can't get this turned in such a way as to allow me to put in. We can't do that. Well, we could do that. That would defeat the purpose of the runaround, but we could do that. So let's keep turning the turntable here. Since I'm in the wrong camera angle, I'm gonna zoom out, and we'll put it right here. Okay, that'll work. And we'll see what we can do about putting our locomotive shed in here. So we're just going to go in with this one. I don't think, yeah, we can't connect up. Dang it. All right, that's not a problem. We'll make this work. We'll make this work and it'll look good when we get done, so it's not a big deal. We're going to put this right here. No, we're not. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to leave that there. Actually, we're going to get rid of it. We're going to put it back. We're going to put it back in. We're just going to go ahead and put in a regular roundhouse. So we're going to come down here to engine sheds, 4-stall roundhouse, and we're just going to plop it in wherever we can. We're going to put it in, and we're going to redo the turntable again once more so that it actually lines up. And turntable. And we're going to hook it up with that one, but we got to come around and do it. So there, it will connect up to that, and we'll have to redo our track. That's not too big of a deal. And that is probably the simplest, the absolute most simple service station service center you're gonna get for a yard. So that's just going to be the most bare bones basic, and this will probably never be filled up. But that is as basic as it gets, and for what we're doing in the length of space that we're doing it, that's all we need. In fact, the 4 stalls is probably a bit much. I don't think we'll ever need 4 stalls for this line. But I don't necessarily feel like trying to switch everything around to accommodate a 2-stall roundhouse or a 2-stall locomotive shed. So we'll just go in and finish off this locomotive stop here, and that will be it. So there we go. We have gone start to finish in about 2 hours, which is remarkably short for the amount of work that we've just done. We've put in two full yards for 2 industries, and we've got ourselves set up to run product to and from these industries. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come down here, and we're going to set ourselves up so that once our main line is complete, we can run ourselves over to the refinery and the oil field via another line. Now we're going to actually run a line from the oil field down to the central depot here, but we're actually going to have to run a second line from the sawmill to the refinery. But in doing so, or in order to do that, we're going to have to complete the line from the sawmill to the foundry here, the metalworks. So let's go ahead and see exactly where we need to go, what we need to do that. Because we're going to have to actually go around this hill here and then come back over to where we left our main switch. Right here. So we'll do that. Come down here, and I'm actually going to take this switch out. Take this switch out. There we go. And do I want to do that? We kind of have to. We might have to do a little bit of work here. Then again, maybe we won't. There's a little bit of a hill there that I wasn't really counting on. So let's see what we can do for that, how badly it buries it. I wonder if I can run a locomotive over that. I should be okay. I should be okay. We'll test that in the next step in a later episode. So I've actually got to run, and all I did was change the direction of that switch from a left to a right. So we got to run through this swamp over here, around that hill, and connect back in. Now, the easiest place to put a breakaway for the oil refinery is over here in this area somewhere. So it'll probably be as we're beginning the trek around the hill here. We'll put it in so that we can go straight and build our height. But we're not going to do that in this episode. For the remainder of this episode, I'm going to be working on how to get this taken care of. So I'm going to go here to the outside line, and I'm going to run it, just see where we get. And it dips down quite a bit already in terms of height. So we need to be careful, because all of this swampland here is probably going to be pretty soft. So what I want to do is actually, whoops, nice view of the beach there. So we want to leave that, and we'll come out probably to about there. We're going to do the same thing over here on this line and try and get it to match up. So we need roughly a 90-ish. Well, 120 will work for what we're doing. We'll come to about here and bring it up, straighten it out. Just like that. And that'll be good there. Now, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is just go over this with a wooden trestle and see how far we get. So we'll go in with that. That'll give us a good solid foundation over this mud. We'll start working our way around the hill here with a nice gentle curve, probably 200. Let's go, yeah, 150 will be, yeah, 160 will be fine. That'll bring us right to where we want to be. And you can see we've put a little bit of height on this. But we're going to come back over and we're going to, as we're coming back over, we're going to bring it down in grade so that it matches up. Now we're going to go right to there and we're going to straighten it back out because that's where I want it to be for where we go in with the switches. We've got to bring it down just a touch further. We actually came up quite a bit in height in the terrain. Right about there. Yeah, that'll be all right. We can. I'm just going to put this in to see what it looks like right now. We may have to move out a little further. Yeah, it'll be fine. We've got to go in a little bit further into that grove of trees and then we'll be good. But I'm going to do that with ballasted track so that we don't have any issues. Well, we got to go past the grove of trees, don't we? Thought it'd be all right. I guess not. It'll be fine. We'll go right to about here. I actually don't want to have any issues with the switches getting caught up or anything like that. So we're going to put our right hand switch with a left hand throw in. And it's not clipping through, which is what I want. That's the whole purpose of going over here. And we're going to turn it around and do the same thing. And we'll cut these trees out. I know it's kind of hard to see right now. We'll cut these trees out when I get done running this. So we've got a crossover here. And we got miles and miles to be able to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with another crossover. Left hand with a right hand this time. And we're going to come over here. And I think it is actually clipping through. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. All right. So we got miles to do this. But we've got to come down in elevation quite significantly back here. So let's take this out. We were at 160. So let's go ahead and do that. And we got to put that whole curve back in. So go back through here and do that at a 1% down grade. And we will put that in 60. And we'll just come right on over here. That up there is the grove that we were in. So put that in right to there. And I actually did take, it's down 0.5%, but that'll be okay because you can see we're right about where we want to be. Let's go back in with our ballasted track, keep that 0.5% in, run it to about there and stop. We're going to keep the 1%, but we're going to run straight, or 0.5%, excuse me. We're going to run straight to here. Okay, so that's where we want to be. We put these switches in. It's going to cancel out our gradient. So we'll put that in. We'll come around. Put that in. And that'll be good on that side. We're going to go over here and do the same thing with left-hand switches. And we're going to put this in right here. We're going to try and venture out of this grove here and put the other side in. Now, is it still clipping through? No, good. So what we want to do, now that we have our crossover in, we can go ahead and put this up in here. we've got our crossover in. Now we want to split out, and we can go ahead and cut these trees out. We want to split out another line. Now I'm not going to do like what I did up there at the wheat farm and try and do a double switch to continue the two lines over. The whole reason for putting this crossover in is so that we could put in another switch where we need to break off from that, or break off from this line to go over to the oil refinery. Boy, trying to talk over that is hairy. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to come back over here and cut this one out, because we're going to need to cut these out here in a little bit. But this one's all right for right now. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. That's done for right now. We'll come back to it later. And where we want to take and break off this line is right here at this crossover. Okay, so instead of putting just another straight piece here, we're going to put another switch in. I'm going to do a right-hand switch with a right-hand throw. And what that's going to allow us to do is carry on with the main line, and immediately, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, okay, we're good. Immediately, we can come over here with a left-hand switch with a right-hand throw and break off into another double line. So that's a little bit simpler of a way to do it than what I did up at the wheat farm, but it achieves the same basic setup. And we're going to have to go down in height on our rails in fairly short order. I think this is our limit for it to for height before it starts clipping through. But yeah, we've got our standard main line here that we could just continue on around, and we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on getting this portion of the line taken care of. We're going to come right out to here. We're going to go in with a 0.5% grade, just like we had. We're going to keep that 0.5% grade going because we want to match up. Now, we're going to have to, or I'm going to have to make these match up for the bridge, but we're going to see where we're at right now. We're too far away. Okay. See, I personally like to have, like with the wall, I like to have just the one beam there, kind of make it look like it's all the same track. So we're actually going to go over here, and we're going to see if we can't get it to line up over here. So we go in, and it's we'll make that we will make that a nice gentle. In fact, we may not. I may not worry about it. It may just be two separate bridges. I don't. Wow, that gets far away, doesn't it? Okay, so we're actually going to try and use this copy paste here, and we're going to put it right here, right alongside. That's what I want to see happen. Okay. So if it's right all the way around, well, it's not going to be all the way around, but it's where it is. So let's try this here. Now we can't can't join anything up that I can see. But if it's right all the way around, we'll keep it. That will be fantastic if that's right all the way around. And I can tell you already it's not, but it's fairly close. See what it looks like over here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so there's what the copy paste does. Now, I don't use that in a lot of places because it's not really conducive to what I want to do, but right there it worked perfectly. So thanks for the suggestion. You know who you are if you're still watching these videos. That's a nice little shortcut. That saved me a couple hours worth of work. Thank you. So we're going to cut out as many of these trees as we can see. I think we've got them all. Yeah. Get the rest of these guys here. And we can actually, with this, yeah, with this causeway here built, we can actually run a test train up to see if it is all right. And what I'm going to do, yeah, we were way off here. What I'm going to do is bring this in just by itself. All right, so that's nice and gentle. And we'll see if those two actually connected. If they did, that's great. If they didn't, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We'll make it happen one way or another. But yeah, thank you for the suggestion. That actually saved me a lot of work, I think. So, yeah, that's fantastic. So, we've got okay. Forgot there was more trees. We've got that taken care of. Don't unplug the headphones. Don't need an echo in here. Yeah, let's get rid of that one. Yeah. Okay, looks like we got ourselves a dust storm coming up. But with that, we're going to go ahead and come back over here and start working on the loop around so that we can meet back up over here, wherever it happens to be, with our other line. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I think that's going to be it for the episode, but we're going to wait until this dust storm clears so I can actually see what I'm doing. All right, we are back. It looks like the dust storm has finally let up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work this line around. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this inside line, which becomes the outside line on the opposite side of the hill there. We're going to work on that. And we're going to see where we get to. Now, I would like to make it hug that hillside, but I know it probably won't. So we're going to come over here about a 700 radius. I'm going to stop for a minute and take these rocks out because I don't know if they're going to cause an issue or not. That one probably wouldn't, but that first one that I did might. And then I'm going to start bringing it back around. Yeah, see, we'll probably need to make that a little bit more well, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll be able maybe we'll get it to work. It would help if the camera would let me do what I wanted to do. I'm just trying to I'm basically trying to work this around right now. Really, camera? Come on. What the hell? Seriously. All right. Well, that's camera's going to be what it's going to be, so that's not going to help us. So, we're going to take this line here that's stuck in the tree right now. We're going to connect it up here. Oops. We're going to try and connect it there. There we go. We're going to have to come in with the 5-meter ballast to get this to work. And then I want to bring it around. Let's see if we can get this to, yeah, bring it about a 0.5% grade. And we'll take it down. Oh, probably a 160. That'll be plenty. And we'll just keep bringing it around. I'm going to switch over to a 1 meter now. And we'll see where we end up. We'll have to tie it in either way. But we'll see where we end up. Okay. So we'll have to... Let's go ahead and do a 1 meter the whole way around. Oh, come on. There we go. Or not 1 meter ballast, 120 radius. That's what I meant to say. That's not what I ultimately said, but all right. So we're right about there. We will take our slope out and we'll run it around. Try and get it as far as we can, and that's about where it's going to end up. So just a long sweeping grade here. And we're going to go to right about there. And I'm actually going to delete that track when I get up to it. But we're going to straighten this out. There we go. And we're going to go to, we'll go to right about there. So let's go ahead and delete this track. I think that's the only piece that we laid out here. So, yep, okay. Now keep in mind we got to connect to this switch right here. So we'll go back over here and do that. Okay, let's bring in our 1 meter ballast back in. And we're going to come back around. And we're going to try to line everything up. All right, so that should give us plenty of room there. So we're going to try and straighten it out, see where we end up. That's close enough. Yeah, it's close enough to be in there, so we'll just put it in. And that'll be it. It's now connected. We have three connected industries now. We just have to go back and do this all again. Okay, let's go over here to our copy paste tool and see if we can make that work. That's close enough to the same length. We'll fix it when we get there. Camera? You're making me mad now. Okay, well, thought that copy paste tool would let me just multi-select here. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, so I don't need to reselect it every time. Whoops. So that's going to save me a bit of work in the long run. And it actually doesn't look too bad either. But I don't want to try and connect. Huh. I wonder how that happened. Oh, we'll fix that. I know what this is. So we will fix that. Come back over here. Where's our track? Where'd it go? Huh. Oh. Duh. Went the wrong way. Okay, so let's go back in with 120. I think it was 120. Yeah. We'll do that. Go back in with our 5-meter ballast. Finish up that curve. It'll be close enough. There we go. Okay. Now we could probably copy paste that all the way over to the other one. And it'll look halfway decent. So let's go ahead and try that. There we go. Right there. And we'll see if we can't do the same thing here. I hope it works. Almost. It almost worked. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take and redo, or just do this one by itself. That's no big deal. That was something that we could do. It's not that big of an issue, but that did save us quite a bit of work. So thank you again for that suggestion. I did not realize that it would work that well. That is to say that where it does work when I need it to work, it works pretty well, and I may actually be able to use that more in the future if I'm lucky. So we have now, assuming those are connected, and we're going to have to test that out to be sure. We now have these two industries connected in with the rest of our line. Now we can't do anything with these industries until we get the smelter and the iron ore mine connected in, but we're going to come down here and connect them in down here at this switch right here. So with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining me here today on this episode. The BioShock video, like I said, will be late this week. It'll be on Saturday instead of Friday because Christmas is on Thursday, and I usually record the BioShock episodes on Thursday to edit and release on Fridays. Besides that, everything should go as normal. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to comment, leave a like. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this, and I want to thank you again for making that suggestion. Like I said, you know who you are. Okay. I want to thank you again for making that suggestion to use the copy paste tool. I don't particularly care for the copy paste tool in most situations, but for that, it seemed to work out just absolutely perfectly. So thank you for that. I do greatly appreciate the suggestion. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like I said, comment, Let me know things that you guys would do differently, like the guy commented with the copy paste tool. Give me hints and suggestions on how to do things a little bit easier, a little bit faster. Um, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, you can subscribe here on YouTube, and I'd greatly appreciate if you did, because it helps out the channel in visibility on YouTube. And if you want to support the channel in general, head on over to Patreon. You can see the link up there on screen. And starting at just $3 a month, you can get access to all the uncut footage that I do for these videos. You'll also get access to a private Discord server that's Patreon exclusive, where I do streams on Discord that are exclusive to the Patreon Discord. You guys won't see those posted on YouTube because I won't record them. They won't be recorded. They'll be various different games. They might even be, offline build sessions or running sessions of Railroads Online or something to that effect. But for now, I want to say thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next one. Come over here. That thing's about to go. One good gust of wind. I want to race it.